Before we go further into the topic of mental disorders, I need to remind you about the cyclical nature of the universe and Earth's evolution as a part of it. Symbolically speaking, the evolution happens in the patterns of inhaling and exhaling, ebbs and flows, expanding and decreasing. This pattern is what creates eternal momentum for the energy to generate and renew itself. The cycles are nested and start as short as a breathing pattern and as long as thousands of years. For us, from the universal perspective, the smallest cycle to consider whether a human consciousness or the soul is ready to be taken from earthly incarnation is about 2,500 years. When the soul is harvestable, it is ready to serve higher dimensions by using experience gained during lives on Earth. It could be an angelic realm or even more advanced dimensions you have no reference for. The selected souls are always given a choice to move on. A recent harvest, as we refer to it, has been challenging due to very few souls being capable of sustaining the frequency we consider suitable for a harvest. And what is a major problem with the current cycle? The separation between the heart and the mind. It causes the energy to get trapped within the person and therefore becomes corrupted either by external false values or by internal false beliefs about oneself. It then exhibits through the person's actions or a lack of them. It brings the individual frequency down as well as the combined global energy. As a result, there is a situation where planet Earth seems to be literally stuck in its own energy and cannot break through it. To fix it, a global shift of energy has been put in place starting the last quarter of the 20th century. 2012 being falsely perceived as the end of the world is actually the approximate end of the last cycle of 2,500 years. It didn't start with Jesus either. What about obsessions, obsessive-compulsive disorders like OCD? What should we do about them? They are for sure not imaginary. Both obsessions and compulsions are states of stagnation. It's when the energy gets literally trapped within the personal aura. Conditions such as obsessions appear to be mental, however, they are the product of the entire energy field of the person. It is a voluntary action similar to addictions. You can laugh, of course, as it is the last thing the obsessed person will tell you. They will tell you they hate to think about the same thing over and over. They hate repeating the same compulsive action, like washing their hands or checking door locks. I reassure you, it is a free will situation, just as everything else you do. The problem is you are so much in denial about your wants and completely ignorant of why you want what you want that you get trapped within your own lies. It is a very painful condition and hurts the one who suffers from it and everyone who gets in touch with them. It makes them impossible partners or spouses and very undesirable friends or co-workers. Yet it is their choice. Every experience you have is meant to be lived, processed, and released. You are the energy when you inhale, and you are the energy when you exhale. There is no one process without the other. Similarly, you cannot have an experience without letting it go from your energy field back to the universe which served you the experience in the first place. You are a traveler through your own life. You are not meant to get stuck in one destination, one train station or one airport. It is not what your life is all about. It is about having experiences, living them openly and fully, and releasing them when it's time to move on. Often, an obsessed individual might get stuck on the idea or an object of obsession, but it is a choice. If someone or something is not coming to you after you clearly expressed your desire for it, you need to have courage and flexibility to let go and welcome anything else that comes your way and keeps you excited and satisfied. Don't get stuck. Everything in human life can be processed and released unless chosen not to. It is, however, not a mental disease. It is a condition of your own making. What about those who suffer hallucinations, delusions, and see things that are not real? They're also called disassociated. What happens exactly? It is a completely false perception due to ignorance. Just because you are unable to see something doesn't mean it isn't there. One person might hear a beautiful symphony in their head while another sitting next to them hears nothing but dead silence. Whose reality is real? Both. Hallucinations are visions detected by one person while others don't detect them. It must be frustrating for both. How come you don't call those who don't see them mentally ill or mentally blind? Such conditional thinking and labeling are not getting you anywhere. Everything is real simply because nothing is. It's all just a matter of personal perception. Everything is just energy and open to interpretation according to your own personal energy interpreting capacities, hearing voices, seeing things, smelling scents, thoughts, ideas, presences of something unexplained. All of it exists around you at all times. Why can some of you see and detect it while others walk right through it? It all depends on where you are as far as your personal energy attunement. Some people possess more refined mechanisms for energy detection. Some call them extrasensory abilities. Some can sense the energy, spirits, of those no longer in physical bodies. Some can read emotions and thoughts of animals. And some are very strongly connected to the entire quantum field, able to draw any information they wish from it. You are all equipped with such abilities. Some of you refuse to use them on the grounds of being stupid and unreal, and that is your choice, but just because someone sees something you don't, it doesn't make them ill, mentally or otherwise. They are more advanced than you are, but that's not a reason to detest them. For the record, fairies are real, but so few of you can see them. What about delusions? What if one day I decide I am Jesus Christ or Napoleon? That is not real, for sure. Why do people become delusional? Is this connected to dissociation? There are different types of delusions. One category is, as we talked about before, when someone sees something like elementals or spirits while others do not. Another category is when a person is strongly convinced of something that is not true. Some people see themselves as historical figures or famous people, or believe they are meant to be with a famous person as a spouse or a close friend. And they pursue such a belief by any means. They can be harmful if reality doesn't comply. It borders on obsessions. Many of these so-called delusions are voluntary thoughts and beliefs which become a primary focus of a person's consciousness. What you are most focused on gets the most energy from your field, therefore, it gets empowered. The more focus and energy given to a particular thought, the more it inflates like a balloon and takes over a person's mental processes, sucking out energy from other self-regulating acts. With time, the person's mind registers only this idea and information related to it. At best, that is what a mad scientist is. At worst, it can be a serial killer or a dark leader. Hitler, for instance, was in this category, and so is Einstein. Sometimes delusions are visions of something that hasn't come to reality yet. Visionaries like Tesla were considered delusional and still are in a world where energy cannot be thought of as being free and everywhere. Yet it is the ultimate truth, but for your generation it is nothing but a delusion. The next category of delusions is dissociated people. Sometimes after a deeply traumatic experience, sometimes being programmed to fear and feel unsafe in their own image, such individuals imagine themselves to be somebody else. They step into someone else's image and leave theirs behind. Needless to say, it is a survival mechanism taken to the extreme. It cannot be seen as abnormal or sick. It can be seen, however, as deliberate programming, either by those close to them or self-programming. Since programming is not seen as such, they become truly convinced that they're being chased or something horrible will happen to them if they remain in their own image. They invent an alternate self. The bigger problem is that they block all the incoming energy from the field, being closed down and overly protective of the self. Peculiarly, it is the very self which they would rather abandon, if only they believed there was a much larger, loving and healing presence all around them. They could heal and incorporate themselves into their original image, but it almost never happens. They're convinced that they can only rely on themselves and therefore do whatever it takes, even faking themselves in order to feel protected. To some extent, this is what the majority of you do. You imagine yourself as the version of you which you believe will be least likely harmed by uncontrollable events in your life. And you act according to the false image you have created instead of your magnificent eternal being, who is the only true representation of you. I guess we are all a bit bonkers here. Tell me more, please, about the popular topic these days, ADD and ADHD. It seems like everyone has it. In a nutshell, uniformity, big pharma in collaboration with modern medicine and societal standards. You have no tolerance for anyone who is not like you. If your child is not your carbon copy, you desperately seek what is wrong with them. A better question might be, what is wrong with you? AD, or whatever you call it, has always existed and most likely will continue to do so in future generations. Each newborn wave is designed to bring balance to the planet's energy. Since previous generations developed extensive obsessive traits, the next generation came to balance it with a short attention span and intolerance for any obsessive patterns of thinking. The issue is not with them, it's with you. Once you learn to balance your own obsessive and compulsive thinking with freer, more spontaneous thought patterns, you'll see how mild and manageable ADD, ADHD can be in your kids. The problem with parents is they often think they know it all. However, that's not the case, and kids are here to teach the older generation new values and upgraded ways to live. They face a lot of resistance from authoritarian and self-loathing predecessors, yet they know their mission and will pursue it, even if it's labeled as attention deficit disorder. What's tragic is that the positive wave they bring is being hijacked by big pharma, who can't pass up the opportunity to make millions by turning these children into zombies. Parents fail to recognize the chance to upgrade their perspectives, but instead punish the kids for being different, intolerant, and incompatible with social norms. Yes, these kids are disruptive, and they will turn your life upside down, and you should thank them for it. Instead of numbing them with meds, you're turning them into druggies instead of recognizing them for what they are, your hope for change. It's time to change the way we parent. The most common trait of kids labeled with ADHD is their disobedience. Have you thought about why? They're not bad, defective, or uncontrollable. It's you who often strive for over-control, smothering and disrespecting each other's differences, living within a preconceived box. You need to change, if not for the love of your kids, then for your own evolution. Wake up, humanity. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you resonate with the material we share.